Hi, good afternoon, and thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I'll just quickly do a screen share. Is my screen available to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Right, so once again, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Angelique Engels, and I'm the Managing Director of African Falcon, and we are based in Pandamatenga, which is in the northwestern part of Botswana. And our company specializes in falconry-based bird abatement on quelea control. So here's just a little summary about us. So once again, we specialize in falconry-based bird abatement. And you might ask yourself, what is falconry-based bird abatement? Well, this is the use of highly trained falcons and hawks to chase away, to eradicate, and or intimidate any nuisance birds. And we do this by using that natural predator versus prey response. And a single falcon can move millions of quelea birds away from any type of crop area or any type of area in a very single flight. And well, currently our main focus is on controlling quelea birds on agricultural fields throughout the entire Pandamatenga area. So I'm going to show you guys where Pandamatenga, where the commercial farmlands is. I'm going to talk about what it looks like and some of the issues that we do face with the quelea. Right, so this is what the Pandamatenga commercial farmlands look like. The entire area is 45,000 hectares of commercial farmland. There's also a game fence that's been eradicated all the way around. And this is to keep away any large wildlife like elephants and buffaloes. The commercial farmlands is divided into three sections, the north, the south, and the newlands. Throughout all of the commercial fields in Pandamatenga, farmers plant sorghum, both red sorghum and white sorghum, wheat, millet, sunflower, and quite a large variety of beans. And there's naturally other crops that they also plant and experiment with. Now there is quelea roosts throughout this entire Pandamatenga area, and I will indicate some of these roosts, even though they are not perfect GPS coordinates, but it gives you an idea of roughly where only some of these mega roosts are throughout Pandamatenga. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of them throughout the newlands, the north as well, and naturally also the south. But for the case studies that I will share with you today with our falcons and with our team of people, we will only focus on the newlands. And the reason why we focus on the newlands is because the amount of devastation and destruction has historically been much greater in the newlands. And naturally, there's some other factors as well, but for the purpose of these case studies, we will only focus on the newlands. So let's have a look at case study number 1. So this farm is situated in the northern part of the newlands. This farmer planted 200 hectares of sorghum field in the year of 2018. And an estimate of 5 million Quelea birds started roosting north of this field. Now, this is a historical roosting site where we find Quelea birds nesting every single year during the cropping season. Now, in 2018, this farmer sustained more than 90% damage on his sorghum field. Unfortunately, in this year, they did not utilize our services, and they sustained more than 90% damage. And this is what damaged Quelea crop, damaged sorghum looks like from Quelea damage. And as you can see, it's the grains are completely split, and there's complete destruction throughout the entire field. Now, in 2019, the farmer planted mostly mung beans, and this is potentially just to regain financial security again due to the loss of the previous year. And in 2020, the farmer contracted us out to protect 300 hectares of sorghum that he planted that year, like I said, in 2020. Now, an estimate of 5 million Quelea birds once again started roosting at the exact same roosting site. And with our specialist, with our highly trained falcons, and also the tactics and the logistics that we implemented, the farmer sustained less than 2% damage in the year of 2020. And this is one of our falcons flying over his field when his sorghum was nice and red in the hard dough phase. And this is what the field looked like after a season of us protecting it. And as you can see, there is virtually no Quelea damage on his entire field. With case study number 2, it is a much larger area. So the area that we're going to talk about is the green highlighted area. This was in fact 2 clients, but it was a total of 800 hectares that we protected. And this was last year during the March to June 2021 season. Now, this field had red and white sorghum. Here you can see the differences. The photo on the left-hand side over here, this is the red sorghum. And then the photo on the left is the red sorghum, and the photo on the right is white sorghum. We very quickly realized that overall it seemed like Quelea seemed to prefer the white sorghum over the red sorghum. It might be due to the white sorghum also being taller than the red sorghum, so it might be more places for them to hide away. It might also be a little bit more palatable for them, but we still need to evaluate that a little bit further. Now, we had 2 major invasions of Quelea that wanted to feed on this 800 hectare block. The first invasion of Quelea was once again an estimate of 5 million Quelea. The 5 million Quelea very quickly increased in number size, and they settled at that historical roost site, as you can see where that X is marked out. From the start, they had extremely aggressive feeding behavior, and this is due to their breeding season status. Every single morning at around about 6:30 in the mornings, the Quelea would start moving for their first feed. And naturally, there wasn't enough grass fields in the areas behind them. So naturally, they moved to the closest field, which was this 800 hectare block. Extremely advanced tactics and logistics were implemented by the teams, where the teams used vehicles with sirens to motivate the roost on, and then falcons were flown very strategically in certain areas to move the quelea from their roost site all the way to this natural grass field. It is small holdings, but nothing is planted there at the moment, and it's just a complete empty grass field area. That total distance is around about 8 kilometers. And this is what the natural grass field looks like. So every single morning at 6:30, at around about 6:30, the teams would then start with their tactics and the logistics by moving the quelea over to the grass field. We would then fly falcons in very specific ways and places to prevent quelea from moving back from the grass field into the crop area. And the bulk of the quelea was moved. We always say that the larger the amount of quelea, the easier it is to move. But at the end of the day, with their type of behavior, they all move together. And if you use that natural predator versus prey response, it is fairly easy to move the majority of them. Any of the other birds that broke off and stayed in here, the teams would once again move in with falcons and do the falcon flights and push them back into the grasslands. We had a second invasion of quelea birds. So we were still, we continued to deal with the roost that was at the northern part, kept pushing them to the natural grass field. But then there was a second invasion of an estimate of more than 8 million quelea birds that arrived from an unknown location. We reckon from probably from Zimbabwe side. There's an area called Decca, where there's also a very large roosting area. And so we started putting a lot more pressure on the southeastern part of this block. And this was basically to block the quelea from entering into this field, but also still to maintain the other roost from going to the grass fields. Now, after this cropping season, we asked the government officials from crop production to do a quelea damage assessment for us. And their results was that there was 4% quelea damage on the white sorghum on this 800 hectare block. And there was 3% damage on the red sorghum on that complete 800 hectare block. So it was 600 hectares of red sorghum. So that's 3% damage on that, and 200 hectares of white sorghum, and there was 4% damage at the end of the season on that field. But let's have a look at our case study number 3. This was a very challenging field. So it is this block is the field. The field is surrounded by other larger fields in the area behind it, but this entire area around the agricultural field is bushveld, natural bushveld, and the grass fields is on that side. Now this is 300 hectares that we protected over here. The sorghum on that field was in 3 different stages, which made it extremely challenging. And also we had the three historical roost sites right around the entire field that made it extremely challenging as well to protect this field. This is what the field looked like in 2021. And as you can see, here's the red sorghum part that's from the soft dough to the hard dough phase, maturing and developing. The green part is extremely young sorghum that's still in what we call a milky phase. So the color of the crop is still green. And then there's the kind of like a yellow orange color, which is also just before the soft dough phase, where Quelea prefers to eat the sorghum when it goes from soft to hard dough, but not really when it's still in this form, because the sorghum grain is still very milky and it's apparently quite bitter. But these oval shapes, this is where Quelea would also roost, right around this field. It might not look like a lot, but all of these small bushes and shrubs is absolutely ideal for Quelea, for nesting, for starting a roost, and also for their breeding status. This is on the opposite side of this field. And this oval area over here, this is also where that historical roost site forms every single season. And in the distance over here, you can see the grass fields that I will be talking about. So yeah, so very early on in that season, we noticed that a considerable amount of Quelea that started roosting there left that area completely. And this might be due to the immense amount of pressure that we put on the field with the specialist, with the falcons. We do multiple flights with the falcons every day, and to make sure that we establish that territory with our falcons, that field becomes our territory. But like in the previous case studies, it was very early on in May that a very large influx of Quelea started to move in, and it was throughout the entire Newlands area. And the new group of Quelea started roosting right around this grass field, or this agricultural field. It was extremely challenging. It was very difficult to move the Quelea birds to the grass fields. It took slightly longer than what it did with the bigger commercial fields. Slightly longer in the sense of, usually with the much larger 800 hectare fields, it takes us a day or two. With this field, it took us at least 4 to 7 days to regain control with the new roost of Quelea birds that moved in. And that was the direction that we kept on moving the birds to. Naturally, we also try to not move large amounts of Quelea to other crop fields, even if it is fields that we do not protect. We still try to motivate the Quelea to the natural grass fields. Once again, the government officials from crop production conducted a Quelea damage assessment, and their result was 8% Quelea damage on this 300 hectares of field. 8% is the highest Quelea damage rating that we have ever had experienced on a field. But we still pride ourselves in the fact that if we were not contracted out for this field, they would have sustained most likely total destruction. So even though the result is slightly higher than our standards, we still pride ourselves in the good job that the falcons and the teams did. And once again, this is what the grass fields look like. And this is our first local Motswana. His name is Changu. He completed our internship last year, which is also something that we provide, is we provide in-house training for both locals and international participants to teach them how to protect crops with falcons. And on my very last note, I would like to just share this video with you. This is one of our very best falcons. Her name is Zara, and she is a Lanner falcon. And she was moving around about 3 million quelea away from a white sorghum field. So I shall play the video for you now. There you go. So now, as you could see there, a single flight that she did motivated the quelea to all lift off from the sorghum. And then right behind the falconer that was taking this video was the grass fields, the photos that I showed you earlier. And this was that on case study number 2, the white sorghum field in the very early days when the feeding behavior was extremely aggressive from the quelea. So that is all from my side. Once again, thank you so much for this fantastic opportunity to share what we do. We really do appreciate it, and I look forward to any further discussions and any further questions.